Hi, my name is Nicky Schauder from permaculturegardens.org, and today I wanted to talk to you about 6 easy steps for your fall garden maintenance. First one, um, first I wanted to also mention Ruth Stout, who makes this really simple for us by just telling us that not to sweat it. In the end, if you have a lot of dead things and your garden looks like a mess, that's you're probably in good shape. Yet, that being said, there are ways that you could optimize your garden's messiness and decay so that in the spring and during this winter, you can keep on building on the good soil, um, building up good soil and replenishing the soil that has been exhausted during the summer. So, what are the 6 steps? One is fall garden cleanup. Second, bring your plants indoors. Third, care for your pots and your tools. Fourth, water. Make sure to take care of these water harvesting catchment areas that we have um, before the winter hits. For instance, rain barrels. 5, compost. And 6, amend the soil. Very related to compost, but perhaps a little bit more in detail. Amend the soil with compost, with cover crops and compost. So first, fall garden cleanup. This is an excellent time to chop and drop any overgrown debris that you have in your fall garden, and to lay, if they're not diseased, that you can keep on piling that debris as long as it's chopped even more finely so that the decay can be accelerated into your garden beds. That is also a part of fertilization. And those that are too big or too much, you want to put into compost piles, compost pallets, compost bins even. And so we've taken, some of our kids in the past have done this work for us and our neighbors' lawn clippings. They've raked their neighbors' lawns, and the neighbors have just been happy with that. And we take all the leaves and we sprinkle them on our raised garden beds. And in the spring, the harvest to follow is even more impressive because that carbon from the leaves breaks down and makes that soil richer as the more that you do this mulching process. And the fall is the perfect time to do this. Second, bring your plants indoors if you have them, to extend the season and to extend the loveliness of your plants, especially potted plants like gardenias or herbs. You can bring them in and continue enjoying the culinary herbs. I also asked Heather Jo Flores, uh, author of Food Not Lawns, what she does to maintain her permaculture garden. And she happens to live in Spain. And she says, in the fall, I like to do a major garden cleanup, and not just with the plants, weeding, pruning, clearing out old debris from pathways and corners to open the flow for next growth, to new growth and new ideas. I also clean out the greenhouse, tool shed, the tool shed, and even old files on her computer. So this spills out to other parts. We think about spring cleaning. Let me just pause here. Tip number 3, care for pots and your tools. As Heather Jo Flores mentions above, fall is also the perfect time to protect and preserve our garden pots and tools. So remember to turn whatever pots you have upside down so that they don't store the water and then freeze and then break, especially if they're terracotta pots. And that goes the same for your rain barrel. The other thing I want to say is we do need to make time to maintain our tools. One thing in permaculture is that we try not to limit our inputs, to what's necessary, not because of any, stringent rule like that, but because we're trying to use what we have, not create more waste. And what happens, and I'm speaking from personal experience, is if I neglect the use of a tool, I will have to buy that tool again. And that is just a waste of money, a waste of time, and a waste of a material that could have been, put to better use. So, and preserved as long as possible. So the same thing with our rain barrel is we don't want our rain barrels to explode. And so I have here an overturned rain barrel where we are removing the rain barrel, clean it out for the year because residue tends to build up at the bottom, and also you want to make sure to keep the water there as pristine as possible by doing this yearly maintenance. And also we have had a year where we didn't do this and our rain barrel exploded. So this is our second rain barrel. This is a video that you will see appear on this web page of Brad Lancaster. So I encourage you to, if you are in climates where the weather is super dry and you have a drought during the months that are of winter or in fall, you might want to explore how you can rainwater harvest any precipitation, as he does in this video. And for wet climates, that's the rain barrel stuff. Now we go to the soil. There is an important, for me, for every gardener, every farmer, the soil is where it's all about the soil. And this is a picture of a peanut legume plant that we pulled out to harvest peanuts from, and it is showing the presence of these root nodules, which indicates that there are bacteria in the soil working together with this plant so that it facilitates the uptake of nutrition, specifically nitrogen, in this particular legume plant as nitrogen fixing bacteria do. Now, the absence of root nodules does not mean that you don't have those nitrogen fixing bacteria. So, but legume plants have a natural association with these. They are their friends. Rhizobium, Franquebacteria are their friends in the soil. So plant legumes is one of the tips that we have here for as we go into more of the soil things. The first soil activity for the fall that you can do, or the most important, the most essential fall gardening task, is to compost. The plant waste and dead leaves you rake up, and any animal manure and other organic material will make for an excellent compost pile. I will have another blog, and I've spoken about this in the past so many times about composting in particular, but composting is a whole web workshop video of it itself. But you can get started easily by just shredding the leaves that you see around, shredding papers, combining them in creating rich soil. Second, you can amend the soil, yes, with the compost as is shown here, but also with cover crops for the fall. And Pam Dolling, author of Sustainable Market Farming, has mentioned in previous talks, she particularly gardens in Virginia, but she gave this talk in Kansas, so it may very well apply to you, that these are specific dates, and you probably, these are dates that are akin to your climate, but you can probably move them 2 weeks before, 2 weeks advance, depending on where your frost date is. And so here, September, you would sow oats anytime before September, and any time in September, she will mention some of the big grains. And these grains are important because they build the biomass of the soil. They create biomass. So roots in the soil are great structural soil creators. They hold the structure of the soil, but they also give back to the soil, and that when they slough off, they become part of the soil. They create more carbon. But they also, the nitrogen fixing ones, the legumes such as hairy vetch and crimson clover and red clover and winter peas are also beneficial. Now, she says only include legumes if there will be time in spring for them to flower, which in most cases in America there is, but these are the dates that she suggests. So take a look at that. A note on NPK and fertilization. So there are other ways to scavenge phosphorus and potassium as well in the soil, and some ways include enlisting the help of the microbial community, and some ways enlist the help of the microbial community with some help from plants. And those plants in permaculture that we call dynamic accumulators are just that. These are plants that mine the nutrients from the lower parts of the soil that perhaps most annual veggies cannot take up, or even perennials can't take up. And when they mine them, they store them in their leaves. And when you compost or you chop and drop these leaves, they become part of the upper soil profile and can revitalize the soil, remineralize the soil by scavenging them from other ways. Now, if there's no specific nutrient, there's lots of different nutrients that your soil needs, not just NPK, not just the 8 nutrients. There's a micro and macronutrients, which I go to, in depth with on another blog and video on soil. There is also, there's a list here of a study list of what the nutrient uptake is for dynamic accumulators. This is a rare find. So because this doctor passed away, unfortunately, in 2017. And so, but this is one of his legacy. He left a legacy of ethnobotany in the USDA, and also this particular spreadsheet, which has the mineral nutrient uptake of each of the dynamic accumulators, mostly weedy plants that we consider weeds are actually helpful for the soil. And finally, to end this up, dig deeper. I have here a fall garden checklist that you can download if you plug in your email, and that will put us on your newsletter for future blogs. And so with that, I hope this is enough information to help you create a fall garden maintenance program in your backyard. Thank you.